Hey everybody, welcome to Fantasy R&R. This is your host Ryan.
And I'm Rob.
And today we'll be doing some speculative ads. So we're asking, what's the deal with these players going into the weekend?
And what's the deal?
This is Fantasy with Rob and Ryan, Fantasy R&R.
All right, starting off with news coming out of Detroit, starting pitcher Casey Mize is reportedly going to be limited going further into the season. Might only be pitching some 5-inning games, and at some point could be taken out of the rotation entirely. We also saw Zach Gallen go on the IL in Arizona, and Ronald Acuna Jr. tweaking his ankle and limping off the field during the Braves game. So we're going to be looking to a couple of guys you might be able to potentially fill your roster with going further into the season. And Rob, you're saying there's a couple of guys we shouldn't be sleeping on in Seattle, correct?
That is correct. Top prospects Jared Kelenic and Logan Gilbert out in Seattle got the call yesterday. Kelenic going 0 for 4. Oh no, everybody dropped a guy. Just kidding. Don't panic. This is an uber prospect here. At comparisons to a healthy Christian Yelich, needs to be rostered everywhere. So if he is available, scoop him up as fast as possible. Starting pitcher Logan Gilbert also made his first start, went 4 innings, 5 strikeouts, gave up 4 earned. Again, it's his first start. Don't go dropping this guy. I saw in one of my leagues, he's already been dropped 1,000 times. This is insanity. Let these guys play. I have a feeling with Seattle, at least attempting to win some games this season, that they are going to stay on the roster going forward. Must starts, must haves, must keeps in dynasty leagues.
All right, next player I want to talk about real quick. Give us some insight on Willie Calhoun out in Texas.
Yeah, Willie Calhoun, I believe we've talked about him before. Leading off, again, very similar to that of Kelenic. Texas's lineup, not the best, but Calhoun continues to hit. Homered again yesterday. I know some people are very wishy-washy on him. A couple years ago, again, I think in 300 at-bats, which is in a typical season, half ABs. Hit 18, 19 home runs. I mean, this guy's got power. Leading off again, I feel like don't wait on this guy. Don't just continue watching him. I believe he needs to be rostered. And leadoff hitters, they go a long way in fantasy lineups everywhere.
So let's move out to Chicago. I'm interested in this Michael Kopech kid. We saw glimpses of his talent over the course of this season so far. He's been doing a lot of middle relief work. Now we're getting the word that he's going to do another start today. Do you think this is someone we can rely on in the future?
Yeah, I think this is a guy that it could be a speculative ad, but again, another uber prospect. They got him in the Chris Sale trade from Boston. And this guy needs to be rostered. It doesn't matter if he's in the pen or if he's starting, because I truly believe that I think the White Sox want to make him a starter and keep him as a starter. The guy's got nasty strikeout stuff left and right. And again, with him starting, I think he would just need to string along a couple starts. I don't know. He needs to have like 3 healthy starts, 2-3 healthy starts, I think, for the White Sox, for him to just show that he can go, 5, 6, maybe even 7 innings, pile up some strikeouts for the White Sox to just let go of the reins of him as a starting pitcher.
And staying out in Chicago, Andrew Vaughn plays first base and outfield. What's your outlook on him right now?
Yeah, Tony La Russa just needs to let this guy play. I mean, he's been stringing along a couple multi-hit games, I believe. Homered the other day. This guy just needs to play. Coming out of college, they said he had the above-average hit tool. He's got power for days. Just let this guy play. I don't understand why they're toying around with his playing time. Maybe similar to that of Kopech, they're just kind of grooming him into a full-time role. But yeah, Andrew Vaughn needs to be picked up. I know he was a popular ad in drafts everywhere, and then was massively dropped due to his playing time, but take a look to see if he has been dropped in a lot of leagues. I say snag him now, because the best is yet to come for Vaughn.
And what may have already been a speculative ad at the beginning of the season for some people, Josh Fuentes, the Colorado Rockies, he was signed a long time ago as an undrafted free agent. Is this the time to maybe put this guy on your team now that he had a pretty good performance against the Reds?
Yeah, I mean, a couple home runs last 2 games. Guy kind of did this last year. Average could be a little bit of a concern, but we haven't seen him full time, so we don't really know. And just like any player in Colorado, especially once the summer starts hitting, that air becomes thinner and thinner. Guy with power in Colorado is going to produce, like very similar to what Brian McMahon has been doing all season. I could see Josh Fuentes doing going forward.
Let's talk about some prospects here. Wander Franco top prospect in Tampa Bay to watch, but you think there's someone else we need to keep an eye out on, right?
Yes, second baseman Vidal Brujan in the minors right now is just killing it. As of right now, I'm gonna go a little nerdy here. Okay, I'm about to nerd out.
So.
Sure.
2021 minors so far and 27 at bats. Sure, not a lot of at bats, but 407 batting average, 4 home runs, a stolen base. The stat that I like to look at, 6 walks to 5 strikeouts. I always love seeing that even keel on the walk to strikeout ratio. Their second base situation right now with Joey Wendell is kind of up and down. You know, lefty-right splits are kind of wonky. Vidal Brujan could potentially make his way if he continues to hit steal bases. The way he is right now, again, albeit very early in the season, but the Rays are going to be looking at calling these guys up soon. They have a farm system just chock full of top prospects, like you had said, with Franco. Brujan, I believe, is just right behind him, and I think could potentially get the call here soon.
Going out into Boston, Franchy Cordero, outfielder, he's not doing much of anything right now. What's the speculative ad you'd be looking at for Boston?
Yeah, a guy by the name of Jarren Duran, who had a monster spring for the Red Sox. Again, gonna get a little nerdy here. 2021 right now, 32 at-bats, batting at .281, 3 home runs. Striking out a little bit, but Franchy Cordero is doing the exact same thing. That's a guy to keep a close eye out on. It's kind of like a under-heralded prospect, and sometimes those end up being the sneakiest of pickups. Jarren Duran is definitely somebody you want to keep your eye out on now before it's too late and he gets the call. Also, 2 years ago, because there was no minor leagues, he had 46 stolen bases in 519 at-bats. This sounds like a future leadoff hitter. Kike Hernandez isn't getting the job done. And Jarren Duran could potentially be a leadoff hitter for Boston, who has been surprising everybody so far with their offense.
We already talked about Acuna's injury and other injuries in Atlanta. So if there's one player that you would say people have to keep their eye out on as a speculative ad for their team, who would it be there?
Yeah, again, I'm looking at spring training. Everybody's got their eye out on Drew Waters out in outfield, but it was Michael Harris that made a big splash for Atlanta. Right now in the minors, 37 at-bats, home run, 2 stolen bases, batting at .297. Again, had a monster spring. They said he was turning heads early on. This could be the spark plug for Atlanta's offense, who has just been very anemic so far to start the season. I know they just recently recalled Ender Inciarte, who swings a limp noodle of a bat. I don't think that is going to last long at all. But Michael Harris, if we're going to dive deep here, going deep, Michael Harris is definitely somebody to keep an eye on.
All right, so if you guys are hurting for some players right now because of the COVID designations, IL injuries, any of that kind of stuff, those are some speculative ads you can keep your eye on to fill your rosters going forward for the rest of the season. Once again, this is your host Ryan and Rob with Fantasy R&R. We'll see you next time.